So, as with, I believe, a couple of videos ago, during editing, one of our lovely video producers, Zelda, has decided that this is her time rather than editing time. And you know what? She is right. Because look at her. That's a baby. You want to hold hands? Simple little girl. Look at her. Stretched out. Fully stretched out. Oh, perfect girl. Hey, hello, and welcome or welcome back, I suppose. Have I just spent I don't know how long filming this video already and then finding out that it didn't? It just recorded like 2 minutes, maybe 3. Yes, that's exactly what just happened, but that didn't work out, so I'm deciding to film it a little bit differently and hopefully this will work out. I mean, I'm not doing anything different in terms of camera setup or anything. I'm just hoping for the best. And I did my usual stand-up, talk, film kind of thing. But I've decided that I am actually going to do my makeup. Let's get started, shall we? Today we are reviewing Lucy Diamond's The Secrets of Happiness. This is also the cover that I will be using as inspo. Mostly the colour palette, and I may try to do some leafy designs. I mean, not necessarily in green, probably in white. Also, I can't put my fan on. I've left it downstairs, but I can't put it on because of the sound. I've got a video coming on Tuesday, which I filmed yesterday, I think, or I edited it yesterday. Certainly, I can't remember when I filmed this. Edited a video yesterday that's coming out on Tuesday, and there are some parts from when I was editing. I was just like filming, putting some extra info in. You've seen me do that before. And I have my fan on, and yeah, there is a bit of an undertone of it. Exactly like I thought there'd be every time I've sat in here and filmed, but it is particularly warm in my room, mostly because I get a lot of sunlight in here, and also I'm at like the top of the house, and it's not a huge room, so it's hard to aerate it, and I just have this horrible fear of the cats being a bit too happy-go-lucky when it comes to exploring and climbing out of my window, especially Zelda. I don't think she would, but there's just that thing in the back of my head that I'm like, what if she did though? So, yeah. Lucy Diamond's The Secrets of Happiness. I mean, it's me and Lucy Diamond, so you know it's going to be a good review. I don't think I've ever read something of hers that I entirely dislike. And to be fair, I don't think I've read anything where I've disliked anything, to be honest. I think it's safe to say that if you read one Lucy Diamond book and really enjoy it, and I don't just mean because, you know, I read a lot of books where it's like, I read this, I enjoyed it, that's all, not going to think about it in the future. But when it comes to Lucy Diamond books, they hold a very special place in my heart. And I don't really know how it fully started, because the first book I read of hers, Baby at the Beach Cafe, which I believe is a sequel, or at least a spin-off of another of her books, because I believe there is a book called Beach Cafe, which I haven't read yet, probably will get around to eventually. I think I just read it because I was looking for something short, the Baby at the Beach Cafe, I mean, and then I remember really enjoying it, but as far as I can recall, it didn't become like a firm favourite, like, oh, I want to read so much more by this author. But then, at some point, I think I just had like a craving for something, and I was on Audible and I found Year of Taking Chances, which is, I think, the book that really kicked off, oh, this is an author that I am going to enjoy every time without a doubt. And that has been true so far. And I think I do say this every time. It's that she just creates these characters that are so inviting. And I don't just mean that in they're these like perfect, almost caricaturish. Don't you want to be like these people? Because that does occasionally happen in, well, just in books in general, but a lot of the time in this kind of what I don't know how to describe this genre other than generally I think what most people would lovingly refer to as chick lit. I don't think people call it that anymore, but I also don't think it's exclusively women's literature, because obviously it's not just for women. A case in point, but at the same time they are the target demographic, and generally the people who are most likely to be reading this, often middle-aged women. Very sort of fiction that your mother might read. I love it as well. I read it so I can get your mum. I'm probably not keeping that in. I better not keep that in. But, you know, and the stuff she writes is not necessarily straying too far from being, you know, pretty standard what you expect if you're going to read into something like this. But I just adore it. Like I said, it's the characters. She just creates these people who are, you know, don't fall. They're not overly perfect, but, and they're not trying to be either, because sometimes you do get it with, you know, books in this genre again, where but we don't even need to add this. I'm sweating enough to not need it. Yeah, I'm not adding that on. I don't know why I thought I should. But they're so inviting, and they're funny in an incredibly natural way. There is that very much, I want to be able to know these people beyond what I've been given in this story. Every time I've every time I've read a Lucy Diamond book, I've gone, oh, I wish to know more about these people afterwards. And it's not that you don't get what, because whenever I say that, I always worry that it makes it sound like I'm saying, oh, these characters aren't well-rounded. No, they are. They're incredibly well-rounded. These are entire human beings. And yet, that is the reason why I go, oh, I want more. I've been brought into these people's lives. And yet now I'm just, it's sort of all been, it's been taken. As the book's finished, I don't get any more. And as far as I'm aware, other than Baby at the Beach Cafe, not a sequels kind of person. Doesn't have to be. I don't need a sequel. It's not that sort of thing. It's not like, oh, it's left so empty at the end that you're going, oh, well, why don't I get more? It's a, oh, why don't I get more? Oh, I want more. Because these characters and this world that, this is real life places, but these characters' lives, the world around them that she has created is just so brilliant. You know, in this case, there are so many things that are being dealt with that you're just like, the way she writes characters getting help, the way she writes characters who are kind of unnecessarily snidey at times, realizing that they are wrong and wanting to, oh Christ, they want to make better. Once they realize that they've done something wrong, and the only characters who aren't like that are people who are not good. I mean, and there is no black and white good person, bad person in her books. I mean, there are just people who are a bit more shitty than others. You know, you've got the ex-husband in this case. So there are two sisters, step-sisters, who are brought together in unfortunate circumstances, and they never really got on. So I believe Rachel was like 10 and Becca was 2 or 3. I think she was a toddler when their families basically were both brought together. You've got Rachel's father, Becca's mother, and they never really gelled. And then that was made worse in the future, where Lawrence, Rachel's, by the time you're reading this, ex-husband, goes, yeah, and I slept with your sister. Spoiler alert, it's very clear that they did not. That's not a spoiler. I say spoiler alert, it's not. It's very clear from all accounts that it's just that Rachel believed him because she didn't like her sister anyway, and she's unlikely to take her word for stuff because she's always been a little bit, in her opinion, a little bit flaky. And also, you know, she's been with her husband for a number of years. You're going to believe him, even if it turns out that he's kind of a shitty person. So it's like, also he's kind of a shitty person, so yeah, why wouldn't he have done that? Kind of thing. It all works out really. I like the way things gel together and all that with that kind of thing. It just, things fit and you see slices. And the way she does perspective in this book is very nice because it's all third person, but the way she shifts focus mostly between Becca and Rachel is really subtly done. It's really nice that you can tell that it's like, oh, we're a bit more in her head, now we're a bit more in hers, and it just really like how that works. I'm going to speed through the rest of my face until we get onto my eyeshadow, otherwise I will have said all my points before I actually finish. Yeah, so I think one of the best parts about this book in particular, about the way she's written it, is how steadily things fall into place. Like, the pacing in this is just, it always is, because she's an incredible author, but there's something about the way things slowly fall into place with this one. That looks like I'm bruised. Great. Let's just carry on. Yeah, so the way things slowly but steadily fall into place just work so well. So, like, you know, I was saying earlier with the stuff with Lawrence and the did they or didn't cheat kind of thing, even though it's only really a did they didn't they from Rachel's perspective. The way that steadily is in the background, and you know it's building to something. And I'm really glad it didn't build up to a big shouting, slagging match, because it easily could have been that. But I'm really glad that it was something that was focused on while the rest of their relationship was slowly starting to get better. But that thing was always there. That thing that was always going to stop Rachel from fully committing to wanting to be big sister kind of thing. And then, you know, it's slowly building and building, and then it's like, wait. Why did you think this happened? Because as far as Becca is aware, it's not as far as she's aware. She is not aware that he's ever said this. As far as she is aware, he was weird and creepy with her that night, wrote his hotel room number on her hand, and all she did was mess with him, basically. She sent food up to his room, made some weird, like, calls and stuff, or, like, did the wake-up calls at ridiculous times. And, you know, petty. She was petty. Which she had every right to be. I didn't want to pick that colour yet. Towel, please. Where is my little brush? Is that going to be too dark? No. Okay. You know, so she messed about with him. Well, that makes it sound... She messed with him. Basically, she titted about, you know, she was pranking him, is probably the best way to phrase it. But objectively, did not do anything with him in terms of sleeping with him. It was literally just Lawrence being like, oh, here's a parting blow just to piss you off kind of thing, because he's a knobhead. And then, you know, when they go, I'm like, right, well, this has to get dealt with. I think this shot is the same. As you might be able to tell, possibly. I have done a bit more. I had this little thing about, oh, just check if I'm filming again, because like I said at the beginning of the video, I had an issue, and yes, my phone started overheating. So I was last talking about the fact that they had just gone to Lawrence's. I need to check where I was with my makeup. What was I even about to do? Right. Sorry, I'm a bit... It's been a little bit... Basically, my phone overheated, which is nice. So it's been a little bit since I actually sat down to film, but I checked, and yes, the last thing I was doing. So, yeah, my phone overheated, but where were we in terms of book? Yeah, they've just gone to Lawrence's. And yes, this being one of my favourite scenes, so I can't fully remember exactly what I'd said, but, you know, the two sisters go up to Lawrence's house where he's staying with his mother. And as far as they're aware, when they get there, mother isn't home. They can just have this confrontation, as in, okay, as far as Rachel's concerned at first is, did you sleep together? And then it becomes, okay, why did you say that? Basically, as soon as his mother walks in, who has never really liked Rachel, and she goes, well, why don't you answer them? Why don't you answer the question? Did you sleep with her or not? And if you didn't, why did you say that? And it's so funny because he basically just becomes this little boy who's being told off by his mother, and at the end of the day, that's just the sort of man that he is. He is a little boy, and that's something that like the build up to, I think what I was talking about was like the way that it is all build up to this culmination of that scene, and it all works really nicely, and they get the dog, which I really liked. But when it comes to Lawrence, something I really like is the fact that at no point is the fact that he's a jealous dickhead ever romanticized, and the only people that it's romanticized is by people who are wrong and are labeled as such, because effectively, you know, she's talking about something that's gone on, and like with Lawrence and a few of the mums at the school where her two youngest kids are, at the primary school, you know, they're like, oh, I wish Myler had a bit of that like jealous streak in him, they barely even notice me, and all of that. And very quickly Rachel's like, yeah, but you don't wish that. In theory, yeah, fine, maybe somebody jealous seems good, but in practice, he's controlling, jealous, and it makes him an awful type of person, which is what jealousy is really like. And jealous people, it's not this, ooh, he's protecting me from these other men. It's like, no. He is a dickhead. And that is, quite frankly, the top and bottom of it. And I really liked how that's handled in this, because, like I said, a lot of romantic fiction has that kind of jealousy as something to be enjoyed. It's like a, ooh, raw male aggression. It's like, no, it's just aggression. Why are you enjoying this? And I really appreciate that from Lucy Diamond in here, of intentionally, not just inadvertently, like intentionally going, no, jealousy isn't sexy, it is terrifying, honestly. And the fact that he's willing to behave the way he does in front of his kids as well, like being overly jealous, because they're just on this, like, they're just in B&Q at one point, and he sees somebody who he's convinced himself that Rachel is having an affair with, when of course she isn't. And, you know, he, like, they see this guy in B&Q and he's like aggressive towards him, and like, and it's in front of the kids, and they have this like little argument in the car afterwards, and one of the kids like tells him to stop, and that's the only reason he goes really quiet, and it's like, oh, that's the sort of person he is. Right, great. And he is basically just a man-child, honestly. There is no real better way to describe him than man-child, because he's not, ooh, raw male aggression and sexy or anything. It's just like, no, he's just a ball bag. And I like that in general when I'm reading this kind of book, where you get deliberate going against toxic tropes. When toxic tropes are dealt with like this, I really appreciate it, because they shouldn't be, oh, this is going to make me sound so much like I'm terminally online, but they shouldn't be normalised. You know, it's why I like seeing Love Doesn't Solve Mental Health. Like, that was in Frayne North's Pillow Talk, and I was very appreciative of that. I mention that every time I talk about it. And just generally not seeing toxic traits made. Oh yeah, isn't that what you want from a man? I know what I want from a man. A jealous ball bag. No, it's not what I want from a man. Not one bit. It's not raw male aggression. It's not attractive. Jealousy isn't attractive. It's just a bit grim. And I think anybody who's ever had an actual... Oh, great. That's smudged. Beautiful. Love that for me. Anybody who's ever actually had a jealous partner is more than aware, and I can't say that I have myself, but anybody who has can very easily go, yeah, no, I can't say that I would want that again, or want it being romanticised. What I don't think I've dealt with, talked about, is the way this deals with a lot of like serious topics incredibly well, with the tact that they deserve, because I think it hits really well on this idea that serious issues are not something that's dealt with overnight, and in a lot of fiction things get dealt with really quickly, and while overall the plot of the story doesn't take, like, it doesn't go over a huge amount of time. I believe it's about 2 months. It's, again, paced in such a way that you are, for the most part, with them, you're with at least one character pretty much every day. You miss maybe a day or two here and there. You'll maybe gloss over a weekend, or, you know, you won't see every single weekday, but for the most part you're seeing every day. And the way it's written, that doesn't feel monotonous, because I've certainly read books where you are with characters every day, basically every day of their lives, but that just, you're just like, oh god, this is dragging. There are no time jumps in this. Please give me time jumps. There is one book I'm thinking of in particular. It's just like, please just skip ahead a little bit. You know you're allowed to do that. But in here, we do get like some time jumps, but not in brain. No, try that one again. But in here we do get some time jumps, but it doesn't feel like they are. You're never reading and going, oh, you can just skip this bit, you can go a bit further, you can go a bit faster. The pacing is done really nicely so that you can actually see the time it takes to deal with things. So, like, you see the processes being taken. I mean, I know I've already spoken about pacing, but you've got quite difficult issues being dealt with here. So, effectively, the opening of the book is Rachel being... She's in Manchester trying to find out some stuff about her family history, which that comes up later. Incredibly dark topic, to be honest, but it's dealt with well enough. But she is mugged, ends up being like shoved down onto hard flooring, breaks her arm and her jaw. She's basically going to be in, and there's more issues than that, and concussion and all that sort of stuff. She's basically a bit of a wreck. and you can see the process of her dealing with concussion, and that's basically what brings the story together, because, you know, like I've said, these two sisters, they didn't get on with each other, but then they kind of have to, because the sister is called to come and get the kids because her sister's missing. And by the time you are actually told that it's only been a few weeks, it feels astonishing, because by the time you get from, oh my god, my sister's missing, to the last page, it says something like it's only been about, I can't remember if it says 6 weeks or 8 weeks. And that's terrifying, because her pacing is done so well that it feels like they've spent months together. And yet, it isn't. And I think that's done so well. And that's not, because it would be easy for me to say, oh my god, it feels like they spent months together. Some books, that is to its detriment. In this one, not so. It's just, it deals with issues, it takes the time, but everything is given the right amount of time, I think, because at no point is something left behind that shouldn't be. Even one thing that I thought was glossed over a little bit does come back up later, because everything fits in with each other. It's like this perfect little jigsaw piece. It's like this perfect little jigsaw puzzle, and not in a way that you have to fit everything together. It's that Lucy Diamond is just coming along and adding a little bit and another little bit, and it all just keeps coming together. But rather than when that last page goes, you go, here's your last puzzle piece. It's sort of that, but it's sort of like you're going, oh, but I want another puzzle. I want more, because her work is always like that. So, yeah. And next week, obviously, Obviously, I recommend this book, because I recommend every Lucy Diamond book I have ever read, ever. I can't remember if this was in this video or the last one. If you've ever read, because like I said, I've already filmed a huge video, and then it just recorded 2 minutes, and then I recorded this one, and the phone overheated, and I really hope it hasn't done it again, or I will cry. But if you've ever read Beth O'Leary, so she's done The Flatshare, The Switch, I believe she's done a book called The Road Trip and The No-Show. I haven't read those two. I've got The No-Show, but I haven't read it, and I haven't read The Road Trip, but I know it's at my local library, so I'll probably get on those two at some point. But if you've read those, you will absolutely enjoy them. I say I'll read them eventually. You're probably not going to see much from my shelf for a bit, apart from like 3 books, but they're not going to be from the box. That's a plan I've got. I basically have my schedule planned until about October, because even though in my I'm Coming Back video and a video that you'll be seeing on Tuesday, I've said, doesn't matter, I don't have to read a book a week. I now have until October at least 1 book a week, sometimes 2. But I seem to have my planning worked out. I should be finishing, I finished this book today, being Sunday when I'm filming this. I maybe have another book being finished today or tomorrow. I have everything being staggered. It should be all good. And if I had to take a few weeks off to finish a bigger project, which I think I will be doing for projects I have planned later this year, I'm trying to save my Audible credits until that point, because if something's not on BorrowBox, it's probably going to be on Audible. I've got 2 videos for you next week. On Tuesday, you're getting a little, basically it's a library haul. I got a big stack of books from them with a little twist, maybe a little throwback to the start of this year. And then on Thursday, you are getting a review of Never Let Me Go by Kazuo Ishiguro. I hope you have a wonderful day, a wonderful night, a wonderful whenever you are watching this. Take good care of yourselves. Right.